Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 781. I'm Tom Cagley, your host. Today, the SPaMCAST 781 begins with a discussion of prioritization and sequencing. These two ideas often get conflated. Work might be important, but if it has predecessors and successors, it will require sequencing. You can't deploy a new piece of hardware unless you have it. The acquisition of the equipment comes before deployment. Not letting control or having input into sequencing has consequences. Let's discuss avoiding those negative outcomes. We also have a visit from Keis Kostaqi, who returns with her "You Are Not Alone" column. Keis and I discuss the new Scrum Master that gets thrown to the wolves. Get a mentor or coach? Or risk getting eaten? Sequencing is Micromanagement by Thomas M. Cagley Jr. Prioritization and sequencing often get conflated. Work might be important, but if it has predecessors and successors, it will require sequencing. You can't deploy a new piece of hardware unless you have it. The acquisition of the equipment comes before deployment. In mastering work intake from chaos to predictable delivery, due out in January 2024, pre-order a copy, Jeremy Willits and I stated, deciding the order in which to do pieces of work can be both a dynamic and elusive process. The more complex the organization and its product line, the more complex it will be to lay out the order of things. The people closest to the work generally have a better understanding of the order a piece of work needs to be accomplished. When the order of work is micromanaged, there are consequences which include inefficiency. Developers are in the best position to understand the technical complexities and dependencies of the work. When they are not allowed to sequence tasks based on these constraints, it can lead to inefficiencies in the development process. Developers may have to work on tasks that are technically challenging or dependent on other unfinished work, which can result in unnecessary delays. Reduced quality. Forced sequencing of work can lead to rushed or suboptimal solutions. Developers may need more time or flexibility to implement best practices or thoroughly test their code, which can result in lower quality output. Frustration and burnout. Developers may become frustrated when they are not given the autonomy to make technical decisions. This can lead to demotivation and over time, even burnout, as they feel disempowered and unable to contribute their expertise. Missed deadlines. When developers are not allowed to sequence work based on technical constraints, it can lead to missed deadlines and project delays. Tasks may take longer than expected due to inefficient sequencing, leading to project bottlenecks. Increased risk. Ignoring technical constraints can introduce unnecessary risks into the project. It can lead to issues such as system failure, security vulnerabilities, or data loss, as technical considerations are not given due attention. To address these issues, all relevant team members need to collaborate. Consider reading Leadership as Language, at least the Collaborate chapter by L. David Marquet. See the Reread Saturday column on the blog. The term all relevant includes leadership, stakeholders, developers. Prioritization should take into account technical constraints, and developers should be allowed to provide input on task sequencing based on their technical expertise. This collaborative approach can help ensure that work is not only prioritized effectively, but also sequenced in a way that maximizes efficiency, quality, and the successful delivery of the product. Jeremy Willits, co-author of Mastering Work Intake, sums up the impact of micromanaging via prioritization. Trying to sequence an over-prioritized backlog ends up allowing for either flexibility and preserving options. It ends up being so finely grained that people and teams have no choice but to put together something intricate and ultimately as fragile as a house of cards. Thoughts, comments, all welcome. Hey, you need to take action against IT's dirtiest secret. Work input, which includes prioritization and sequencing, is how work gets to an organization or team. If you get it wrong, you are throwing away time and money. Simply put, poor work intake means no Agile for you. Jeremy Willits and I have written Managing Work Intake, tackling the topic that will be published by Jay Ross in January 2024. There's a link in the show notes to pre-order a copy. In support of the book, we are building a live cohort-based course for Agile coaches, Scrum Masters, product owners, project managers, and the like on taming work intake. The cohort will cover why work intake is the biggest challenge to teams and organizations today. Attendees will also learn what to do to solve this challenge, because it is solvable. This cohort-based course will combine very short lectures, discussions, and exercises. It will provide space to learn and share with peers. We're using a survey to build the waitlist for the first cohort. Link in the show notes. Keis Kostaqi, welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Very happy to be here, Tom. Nice
Keis,
to see you again virtually and talk to you.
Well, hey, absolutely. It's actually, it was last month. We actually saw each other in real life at Agile 2022.
Yeah, we do that once a year. It's our date once a year. We meet at Agile 2022, 2023. So yeah. I don't know. We'll see about next year.
Well, at least this year I didn't come back with COVID.
Yes, thankfully.
Yeah. I waited until a week afterward and then broke my ankle. So it was all good. Keis, your column, You Are Not Alone, is really a great addition to the podcast. And today, I'd like to actually start all the way back at the beginning, back before the dawn of time, at least in some people's mind. Yeah. The Big Bang. Well, I guess it is a big bang, right? When an analyst, a practitioner, somebody who's doing stuff on the team suddenly is anointed a Scrum Master and said, "Yea, verily, go forth and Scrum Master." How does that actually happen?
I mean, it's a lot of change in their mind. It's, switching from somebody that is contributing to problem solving and actually doing the work in order to arrive to a business decision, to a value, to then switching to supporting the team, facilitating some of these mindset shifts. They should go through a mindset shift themselves. As Scrum Masters, oftentimes we have to support the organization, the team, or that entity we're working with and help them go through that mindset shift, that transformation. But going from a practitioner or an analyst, somebody that you were part of the team and you did work for the team, to now being that person who will contribute to that mindset shift, I think that personally, you have to go through that mindset shift yourself. What does that mean for me? What are some of the changes that I should do in my behavior, in the way that I'm approaching the team? How I'm advising them and giving them some feedback for them to change and do that. You have new teams that haven't done Agile before, so that's even more challenging. And especially when you're a Scrum Master that you were never before, you haven't done that role before, that's even more challenging. So going through all that change in your head, that needs to happen personally first before working with the team as well.
Cast your mind back to when that was you. Yep. What did that feel like?
In the beginning, because I had never done it before, it was a lot of pressure. It's like, now I'm responsible to, with this team, we're going to work together to transform how we work. And I was very careful on what I was saying. I was very careful on how I was behaving with them, and not because we didn't have a relationship before, like we knew each other before, we had worked together before, but just because now my role was shifting. It was shifting to something more of a advisor and supporter rather than giving them answers. So I had to be careful not to do that if they were asking me for an answer, because, the whole point of going to being an agile team is being self-organized. So if they were coming to me for answers and I was giving them that, I was defeating the whole purpose. So that was very challenging personally, to shift that language.
Let's flip this just a second. Let's say tomorrow morning you woke up and you decided, Scrum Master, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I want to go back and be a lead on a team. How would you be different?
I think that when you become a Scrum Master, when you do it for a while, again, like I said, that mindset shift has to change. So there's something going on in your mind and the way that you're behaving and acting, and then going back to a team lead position. You're not that facilitator anymore. I think my leadership style would change from what it was before. There are a lot of soft skills that you gain when you're a Scrum Master. Active listening is one of them. So from that control and command that I might have done previously, before doing the Scrum Master role, I would focus more on the active listening piece and understanding what the team needs and how I can support them to achieve that. And then work with whomever the new Scrum Master would be, or their product owner, to make sure that the team feels comfortable working with them, that there's a smooth transition and all that good stuff that happens when somebody changes a role or shifts back to a new role.
Do you think that whether you call it Scrum Master or you call it Larry, who cares, right? Do you think that role should be on the path to leadership in the organization?
I think so, yeah. I do think that it is a crucial role, because you're working with, think about just one team. You have a variety of personalities and people that contribute to delivering a piece of work. So you're working every day with these people to motivate them, to facilitate the way that they're working, to transform how they're working so they can deliver more value. So you're being that cheerleader in the back and trying to give them the stage to perform and, be who they are and deliver. So that teaches you a lot about soft skills and taking the step back and allowing the organization overall to shine. So I think as leaders, that is a leadership style that I really like, giving people and teams and organizations the space to grow. I feel like if I'm in their face all the time, I'm not going to give them an opportunity for them to think, to even take a step back and think about what should their next step be. So as a leader, doing that, giving your team space to think, you can get better results. So as Scrum Masters, we're quote unquote trained to do that all the time on a daily basis. So that would contribute a lot to organizational leadership.
You've mentioned soft skills, and I think I'll wait to talk about what soft skills are important in another column. But how did let's say you were to give advice to a new Scrum Master. Do you think they should wait for the organization to help them learn those soft skills, or is there another path?
I think you can do that being on the team as well before you become that Scrum Master, officially be called the Scrum Master. I think that you have the opportunity to do that as part of a team. There is resilience that comes along with that role, and trying to understand the change and welcoming the change, and also responding to setbacks. There are a lot of setbacks in Agile. Everything will not be perfect. And how do we learn from that? How do we continuously improve? You can do that as part of a team. You don't have to be called a Scrum Master to do that. So that will prepare you for what's to come with all the challenges of being officially in the role.
How long did it take you to become comfortable in the role?
A year, a whole year. And I say that because people are difficult. They have, people are very difficult. They have different personalities. They respond to different things, in their own way. So I think what I learned though in a year, like in retrospect, I have a lot of retrospectives with myself. So in retrospect, what I learned from my whole year going back is that I had to change my approach to tailor to all the different personalities and all the different challenges in front of them in order for the team to be better. And that was the hardest thing, because you have to take a step back, take a deep breath, and be like, this is not about me. And that is the biggest lesson. I mean, that I learned. It's not about me. So that was the hardest thing to learn and actually put it in practice.
We'll come back to that. Keis Kostaqi, thank you for bringing your wonderful You Are Not Alone column to the Software Process and Measurement Cast. Keis, how could people continue the conversation?
Well, you can reach me on LinkedIn. I'm always available there. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So search for Keis Kostaqi on LinkedIn. And then I think, Tom, you'll have the information here on the podcast as well. So feel free to comment, ask us questions. We love to see different perspectives. And if you can share your own experience, if you fit into one of these roles, you were a practitioner before, now you're a Scrum Master, I would love to hear about people's experiences and their journey.
Keis, thank you again.
Thank you.
In Reread Saturday News, Leadership is Language, the Hidden Power of What You Say and What You Don't. Chapter 8 is titled The Enabling Play, Connect. This chapter begins with the story of the Deepwater Horizon disaster, something I'm familiar with because I've spent time and still have family on the Gulf Coast of the United States. The disaster may have been avoided if a single button had been pushed on time. The button went unpushed until too late because the person did not have permission. Marquet states, how is it that a person could be more afraid of pushing a button without permission than dying in a fiery explosion? Hierarchy Above All is a power play from the industrial age, a play that remains entrenched in corporate life. Fear supported by steep hierarchies distorts common sense in environments with a strong culture of control and compliance. Link in the show notes to this week's reread of Chapter 8 of Leadership is Language and all previous weeks of a reread of Leadership is Language. I'd like to invite you to learn to solve IT's dirtiest secret. Work input, which includes prioritization and sequencing, is how work gets to an organization or team. If you get it wrong, you are throwing away time and money. Simply put, poor work intake means no Agile for you. Jeremy Willits and I have written Managing Work Intake, tackling the topic that Jay Ross will publish in January 2024. In support of the book, we are building a live workshop-based course for anyone involved in deciding on what work gets completed. This includes Agile coaches, Scrum Masters, product owners, project managers, program managers, portfolio managers. There are a lot of people involved, and that's part of the problem. The workshop will cover why work intake is the biggest challenge to teams and organizations today. Attendees will learn what to do to solve this challenge. This cohort-based course will combine very short lectures, discussions, and exercises. It will provide space to learn and share with peers. We are using a survey to build a waitlist for the first cohort. Link below. We will use the list to alert you when the workshop is available. The Software Process and Measurement Cast number 782 will feature our interview with Govinda Blue. we will discuss the importance of data and how organizations are tackling data transformations. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?